It is more like definitely now doesn't very interesting right now, especially for like most likely right now at like 1979, might have been when like the final ultimate test experimental test for like number 10 of that Bernard's experiment to see if like 10 succeeds in that Bernard's medical experiment or not. That final test might have happened at like 1979, might be the date that human experiment. That's like looking at it better with different right now because the play on the different for like even back then back at like 1979 like a different 11 might have been too young for like the main experience of that from that like solely due to that factor alone like on the people that might have not taken 11 for like the experiment might be that they definitely not the so until that point like on the different runners that hope might have been all on that kind so that maybe some so the clear point might have been at like 1929 that like the number of events might have had that final touch experience the touch and might have failed at it might have been what might have happened respectively today. So so that the main one today because like back at like 1979 felt like the 11 might have been shifted from like the rainbow and like Gary might have also escaped like Gary even escaping from that all that might have happened by 1979 for the Cleveland Branders. So that definitely when 11 might have been shifted from like the one that 11 was shifted from like the rainbow to that this exact were like all the other remaining failed experience of like summer were like so and at that point I'm different like 11 end up might have all of their attention the lemur and all of the other sets of questions that attention the lemur and it might have been the number 10 like until that point that might have had taken might have had like the maximum steps towards the feeling in his bad experience and might have shown like the most love and affection towards like once like 11 showed up to that were like all the remaining test subjects were like since then I'm like if all that attention might have of that all the other test subjects might have for all of most 11 so like 11 might have showed that superiority in like 11 like IQ as well as like telekinesis as well as telepathic power even from such a young age. It might have been at that point far too obvious for that all the remaining test subjects that like learns that that leading to his of and that like and that was learned such an extremely quickly learn right now, but making far greater progress than all of the other remaining test subjects when favor like 11 age can it might have been like the situation back then at like 97 and 71 so like back then like it might have been while all the remaining test subjects might have had that feeling of this points, secretly might have had like feeling on the point that and directing towards that 11 like and the number 10 alone might have had like until 11 might have might have been looked up towards by all the remaining test subjects since like 11 items to that road after 11 being shifted to that room that all of them all the remaining test subjects might have been seeing that 11 as like 11 far as like that test subject that might totally seem to be surpassing the number 10. So like I'm bringing that since like 11 like and to that 11 and that number 10 might have had just like extreme jealousy to the extreme towards that 11 to the point of like number 10 wanting to take out 11. And secondly, so that number 10 might have had that fear putting in of like the probability of like 11 surpassing number 10. So like number 10 might have secretly want to like take 11 out because such a possibility might have been like the case might have been like the case that human could so like that's a villanistic kind of like thing of jealousy so the extent of might have involved and number 10 might have had towards like 11 right then just the clean thing. So like I believe number 10 might have back at like 1979 but the scenario to be like number 10 like the failing at like the final experience and for not being extremely frustrated and like maybe even getting angry at like number 10 and basically sending number 10 back to the room where like all the remaining paid experience of that purpose of that like not that so like in then number 10 might have had like even more of like frustration and jealousy towards that element it might have increased even more the league platforms could be in the so like even back then, like number 10 might have been extremely old and towards solely towards that and might have always target might have been the case that we were today. So certainly eventually I'm going to find ones like 11 might have even reached like the age of like 11 was like ready for like to take on like that point the like of that kernel like at that point I'm a different like with 11 theorem like and at that from that kernel might have been so extremely excited and enjoyed that while at the same time like I'm that realistically and at that point like might have straight away might have only won at 11 that succeeded that experiment alone student test subject alone and basically at that point William Significant might have straight away given the orders to his like subordinates to like to straight away take out all the remaining experience might have been what might have happened back then, especially among the English. So that back when like 11 I think like succeeded in that 1983 like I'm explaining that might have straight away only might have straight away given that law to the subordinates and to that straight away like take out like all the remaining trade documents as that they are not useful to that all runner needs that 11 maybe along the lines understanding with the signal of that some might have given so like I'm at like 1983 like what might have happened here against straight away once like 11 succeeded in like student like straight away although what might have happened might have been to find it straight away like showing next to that road and basically taking out like the given subject from like one to uh, one to like 10 one by one like so with like the absence of like value eight number eight so like at that point I'm so the maybe what might have happened might have been all the remaining subjects might have got failed and might have that way not persisted and rebelled and might have that way got taken out uh, according to like Brenner's orders, while considering like number 10 alone might have rebelled and might have like fought off like those subordinates of like Colonel and might have managed to like escape that. Khalid might have been Khalid might have been like number 10 that might have escaped from that Colonel that might have been what might have happened to the game of train to Paisa. So that the movement after escaping Colonel's lab that number 10 might have only like using that number and like can solve might have been out that number might have get and but the after taking that number might have kept on running and might have end up at some other different states might have been what might have happened with the number engagement. But like unlike in like the case of Cali, like I'm referring what might have happened in the case of like number 10 might have been number 10 state that number 10 might have gone out of that by a couple or like a guy might have been what might have happened is definitely not the represent like I'm referring like the scientist subordinate of that brother might have been first in the afraid of like the kind of finding out about like the scale of like number and like quickly after like Cali already have had a escape about it like might have released out or like I'm thinking maybe like the scientist subordinate might have managed to like hide that basic information from runner since at that point might have been only focused on like and choices about like 11 like the first in like the ultimate experience of that one of might have only been usually that his like subordinates might have only usually been able to like hide about like the first information about like the escape of black number 10 might have been what might have happened to New York Sheriff. So the claim to black number 10 even after like number 10 is like escape like and that number 10 might have still had like nightmares and that might have still had the counting memories of that from the option to that 11 that those might have been the case legal trend. So like according to approach and trend might have been recently that like either fundamental trend might have been just one guy that might have been taking care of like number 10 until like the recent person and like that person might have recently ended up start movie and like so like at that point I'm looking like just that counting memories might have like number 10 comes to runner and like might have identified and might have considering like number 10 deciding to like free himself from that all those accounting memories and everything by taking if he wants to that for him to like take runner out and basically that he might have felt and number 10 might have felt that that's like the only way for things to like again freedom. So that that way I'm looking at present like under the number 10 without uh, being aware of like all the happenings so far at like Hawkins compared to like runner and Hawkins and not about me and like the bad word and anything like without having a minimum awareness of anything at all like I'm doing like number 10 glad at that person like totally traveling all the way towards like Hawkins and turning back to like Hawkins and like towards like the end of laboratory and there And so the cutting crop that with number 10 to be extremely disappointed at least we see that this like cannot be laboratory in that and absolutely shut state. And then like I was bring that number 10 that getting compared of like not being like my product or like so I or any scientist that of like when the number 10 I'm just trying maybe might be this never sure matter might be regarding to like might be feeling that like one to like stay at talking anymore and might be about to like return when I'm totally on by share point and like number 10 coming into 11. At that point, like number 10 by share points in like running into like 11. And I'm just putting that seeing 11 like it itself like I'm putting like number 10 like recognizing 11 and basically straight away like I'm doing like the haunting number is once again kicking in for like number 10 and putting that number 10 straight away that using this like telekinesis powers and like attack straight away attacking 11 at that point. With non-recurrent like scenario that I'm and I'm also putting even at that point in that season for episode one, like I'm putting even at that point that for like 11 to like definitely not have gotten back some like getting like being like the situation of like 11 even at that point is like the scenario that I'm just and so like that way like I'm just like number times like using this like telekinesis ball and like attacking levels. And definitely at that point like even though number 10 might totally expected for like 11 to like fight back and number 10 at that point might be attacking with that absolute intent to like totally throw to like sometimes that he has like pieces that is like surpass like 11. But like I'm thinking like him getting that absolute shot but like 11 not really like with that in his power. So like that shock is resulting in like him number 10 coming up with like person are that and the but still I'm looking like number 10 only having that disturbance and like kind of like towards like 11 even at that point it's like looking out that and and at that point so on the different like my and the like only seeing this and then like them like firstly being shocked as well and then like it's affecting in like whole interaction between like number 10 and like 11 and like Mike and all of them definitely like with that way like Mike and was like only totally finding out about like how black member fans like comes to like 11 and like experience and experience like things and that I'm also like and that way like I'm just like number fans for the time being deciding to to like stay temporarily stay at like having from the time being like doing the scenario that I'm not going to and also and eventually I'm preparing that day for like that whole interaction and them hanging out together and that whole thing eventually setting an accident ending up bonding and like directly number and becoming one of that Mike and Ace like yeah was like doesn't have that about something and that way like I'm looking like definitely number and eventually being determined to like find out like the actual reason for like why 11 lost so it's like during the scenario that I'm developing and like in that and I'm looking like number 10 being observed with like that bizarre to like uh, uh, find out like the cause of like relevant losing her powers and if we I'm talking about for the image that number 10 to be independent. At the end of that so interaction like my candle like was revealing like number 10 about like all the updated situation of that talking since like the days of like and like stand up in about and everything about like the parent word about like the basic motive and like the mindset and everything. So definitely I'm looking like that way and also for eventually works to be like number 10 to be seem to brilliant that like number 10 to be like the one able to eventually figuring out that basically into the such scenario where like number 10 like totally come down to a conclusion that basically like the element of like the mini mind flare like still hiding people within like element and basically like having taken control of that element like powers and basically that way like basically that way that element is like of like the minimum flare like the things element hiding within that element might be slowly spreading and might be like taking control of the element like pelican itself and hence that element not being able to like have access to the pelican itself. It's along the lines of like any ancient conclusions that number 10 would become down to number spring that lead and only at that point that I'm looking for like my Campbell until that point might have never since like 11 living about might have never been thought of like basically taking 11 to Black Rock province like a different like them. Only at that point deciding to like have province like set up on like 11. And basically at that point I'm looking for that well province would be that looking at like 11 lakh, two different lakh. At that point, through Owen like a different lakh, Owen like only confirming like the suspicion of like number 10. And that way, like, understand that the situation, and that way, like, the situation of like 11 lakh might end up and like that will be finding out, come to such a realization that like loans like slowly turning into a human version of like a mini mind club. And like if we like save 11 lakh, basically they have to like bring down like the original giant mind club from like the battle world. Uh, will be along the lines of the that might and all of them could come down to such a control. So like that way I'm just putting that at that point I was to maybe to that bring down that to that of Minecraft like that relevant in the reading about like Danny and basically definitely at that point I'm might and all of them including 11 as well as like number 10 like I'm going back to like the noise tool and like that something for carrying things like the which is scenario that I'm trying to bring. Yes, so like the movement then right now that is might have definitely been carried that might have taken out like number three and the scientist and it's the movement brings and it might have been only recently that like uh the top of like number 11 that basically might be studying the mathematics at like 1979 might have been when like 11 might have been picked up from from Cali from like the rainbow to adopt the electric and like these might be carries that whole rebellion against that might have resulted in like resulted in like number six as well as like getting taken off might have been like the case that might have been raised. So like that way the fundamental interaction once like can escape like maybe number 10 as well might have take advantage of that situation to that working as well to like escape. So like maybe along with that carry like on that very exact time like maybe number 10 will might have escaped from the runners and the number 6 soon after that carry might have escaped. While all the remaining numbers might have been so extremely afraid of that they see. Uh, even might have lacked the courage to like escape, might have been open to happiness and even prevention. That way like they might have lacked the remaining experiments of that failed experience but like runner might have scared at that until that reinforcements of that runner might have arrived. Might have been what might have happened, especially might have been. It is like nothing might have been in system right now that like 11 might have been shifted from like the rainbow while in like the middle of night while in like the rainbow room valley as well as like 11 might have been sound asleep. Uh, or like I'm just like might have even not only like pronounced orders like they might have gone sleep in this as well. Might see like it's like the other copy that I'm looking for. So that way while 11 and Cali might have been sound asleep like I'm different that what might have been different from black the rainbow might have been what might have happened to minimum parameter. So like the minimum parameter like at that point might have been 11 that might have woken up first and like seeing carry not beside 11 and like seeing how 11% in like the rainbow room like at that point I'm different like 11 might have only got an extreme rate and might have one phrase and might have started using like 11 like telekinesis power like recklessly everywhere and might while like despite something for like carry might have been white screen might have been to tell you what might have happened, especially back then, especially on the temperature. So definitely 11 might have like the crazy back then and might have like use learns like intelligence and power attack everything and everyone that 11 stop in front of 11 at that point while looking through and like something for carry might have been what might have happened and something surprise something off through like furnace and the level might have been what might have happened especially when so like along the way while something for carry like 11 might have also broken one of like the provenance or like one of like the outer walls of like the umbrella but it might have been also the case of even yet like yet like 11 black focus might have been solely on the carries and might have been like the case like 11 might have not even care at all about like the state or anything like it might have been that the spirit like might care might this might have resulted in like 11 11 like reckless continuous or attack like taking out like all the remaining prevent failed experience of that including that might have been what might have happened is definitely my personal area. So definitely and like I'm referring that that hearing that all this sound that while 11 was like rampaging through hearing on screens and sound might be out that can might have woken up definitely on the brain. So definitely can might have opened up and might have the moment that Cali might have stepped out of the rainbow room itself, and looking at what Cali might have seen, might have been all those subordinates of runner as well as other state subjects of runner basically all have taken out on the forces. And at that point, Cali might have got scared and looking at that point itself at that location, so I'm putting on the sidewalk, that might have been the sidewalk in a destroyed kind of a state, so that the Cali might have been able to see the world outside that it might get that point that Cali might have seen the world outside for a couple of times. So Cali might have gone there and might have straight away run through that huge hole which might have opened on that outer wall. And straight away might have ran away from that corner from the lead. That was yeah, might have been what might have happened to Neiman and we understand that the race of 11 as well as the clear Cali might have resulted in neither of them even thinking of basically using their powers to such and right locations might have been what might have happened suddenly not the things then carrying out of fear might have been only focused on running away um, while 11 I'm going to start the person to find carry get a race surrounding that only a race surrounding that separation might have resulted in not something what carry that through 11 power yet rampaging through the lab using that 11 telecommunication power might have been exactly made that what might have happened is that we not correct. So they are not bring with not finding an extremely encouraged 11 staring at runner that range of 11 might have been definitely solely due to for not shifting 11 from away from carry from the range or might have been the case. Definitely might be the rate number. So definitely what might have happened at that point self on the bring that what might have happened might have been 11 after using so much of 11 everything might have at that point self by staring in an race manner at that point self 11 that's of collective absorption might have resulted in 11 maybe collapsing and basically the consistency might have been what would have happened certainly the render so runner at that point might have straight away put 11 into a better than kind of state and 11 might have straight away given the orders to that to which subordinates to get rid of 11 memory and that way this might have been the reason for basically even while 11 in the past had basically something noise had basically found carry basically run to carry even at that point basically the fact that carry had so much more of clarity of the memory of 11 yet while 11 for 11 it took a certain took time for 11 to remember carry might be all due to just collective erosion might have been the case. It might have been only to another and the second might have been the case, but we might have been very survive. Oh, yes, so was the about the manufacturing children not friends in the past even though will might have definitely had a correct one might so because in the present at present will by students what might have so differently moved on but might uh and definitely might have realized that basically that it's might belongs with 11 and certainly one friend so certainly will at often might have moved on from my friend might have a new trust to certainly one friend and certainly I'm whispering that might be the painting of that new trust that new who might be certainly a guy is definitely no so it might be the painting of that new trust of which that very might be painting when that might be the reason for will not so the painting to that level. It's also might be very interesting. Okay, so Neymar is very interesting right now. For friends coming from that dialogue of Jonathan to Lebanon to military end up being an eventual foreshadowing of an eventual scenario where I'm looking the battle world I'm looking might have been the battle version of run up to the battle version of 11 in the battle world most likely through 11 Pelican the battle version of 11 Pelican about different gate opening up to a different dimension to a different world from which and different just from that gate plans from this different dimension might have first into the battle world and it might be that spreading of plan eventually forgetting in a huge plan of on the ground most of the creator and everything might lead these plans that might have stepping transfer throughout the battle world and might have it might be these plants that might have eventually like started to vines from these plants that might have self spread more and more and might like all the like how buildings like similar exactly similar to that the ones in like the real world except like parallel that meant to be representing that exact parallel version of like almost exact parallel version of the students of like the real world might have later in like the parallel might have shifted at one point in time like the past uh, and like those humans might have actually through this spreading of like this like wine like plant like monster like and something like it might eventually start as like capturing small animals from cats and dogs plant version of cats and dogs and like plant version like eventually like the plant monster like grow stronger and bigger and like eventually from like underground like why it's like main force like up my feet underground like it's like wine spreading more and more through like the plant one and eventually capturing uh, and affecting humans and basically definitely able to bring that the very first human that like the plant like most of might have captured it might have turned that put that human into like that kind of like situation in which that Hopper and Joyce in like the past had found will in like the bad world when they had saved will in like the past in like the bad world with that thing in like with smoke like and definitely able to bring that Hopper even back then like basically uh, soon before like finding will that actually hope of having seen that a broken egg, huge egg, like saying that even that as well might have been definitely maybe like either find in like the very beginning of like season one, episode one, like trying to think that who was like who might have not been attacked by like the basic monster, but might have maybe been affected by like the basic monster. And definitely bring like the basic monster target might be or individuals with like high IQ alone that like rate of most of might affect while the others like the rate most of might be totally uninterested in and might fade out might be like the rate that may not for instance might be the reason for like Barbara getting affected as well as Bill getting affected like the house to like the fan work by like the basic monster while Bob was like taken out so like component premising like plan like wines like after like capturing and basically putting like the human into like this like trap kind of like state with that thing like the most like different like initially once like the point to be completed like a different like the sometimes different like your that of like an actual like shell might be getting formed uh, surrounding like the trap human and basically once and like from that egg eventually once like the foundation like from that egg like that human would be eventually getting transformed into through the plan like vines like that human that eventually might be getting transformed into faceless mortar, which might be like coming out of that eggshell might be how like the stuff might be happening is definitely unpredict. So like definitely how and goes in like the past my first say will from like the parable while Will might have been while Will wasn't that right might have been Will actually going through that process of like getting transformed into of getting transformed into that space business might have been the case that Newman Tremors. So like that they might remember right now so the like the opportunity of like maybe like the base monsters as well as like the mind players like all being connected to maybe like the wine the wines and plan like uh an actual plan like most of which might be extremely cute. This might be the actual like everything happening in from like the battle bot like and the reason for all the darkness and like the whole in like the battle bot and everything might be just like underground huge giant plant like monster. Those monster might be like it is limit range and it might be foreshadowing to like this uh this like scenario, this like a revelation kind of like scenario is what I'm actually happening to like Mike and the version like the future and basically like at that point maybe like 11 like could be remembering back about like the title and that Johnson that was exactly like 11 about like when coming up and everything like it's like in the scenario that I'm so like this plan like monster might be what that transforms a human to like a humanoid faceless monster and basically like while like this plan like monsters might have affected like battle version of like stuff in like the battle world like that dog might have ended up transforming into like a dark like demon dog might have been what might have happened is definitely might have been the rainbow. So like according to my second question like all the faceless humanoid monsters that were revealed in like the past might have all been like parallel versions of like humans from like the parallel world uh, who might have not under like foreign affected and might have foreign by like the wines of like the land monster and like the parable might have been the case definitely mind for it and definitely I'm looking like select how like the mini mind club as well as like the mind club 4000 and mind club might be connected to this might be through it might have been through like the strategy of like the giant underground like plant monster like which might be the source like which might have maybe affected like eventually might have affected injury like plant to like take off like thing that the what it might have simply affected every number of humans and might have uh, simultaneously things like plant like point like the transformation on the great number of things like simultaneously into like actually into in a different manner and that way it might be how like the giant that they might have been created to go like the affection of like a great number of humans by like the villain state. So it's like plan not the underground plan not the like the value and might have been or might have happened. It's definitely my consideration concern right now. So like one of the my prevention so the like the run of as well as like the plan number might be connected as to like how they as to what they see as like does that trait in like their target to achieve that their individual goals, which might be high IQs. Actually, I'm just like in like run of like film from like 1 to 11, like it might have been all individuals with like specifically selected with like high IQ that might have seen as like the exceptionally high IQ that like might have seen as like the bizarre rate for like this like for like to increase like about to get better like to be a percent. This might be also the case in the case of like plan like so most of the temple for instance like in underground electric like it might have the humanoid most of that while affecting like the team like basically whether it was that will of Barbara that in like the path that for like maybe like that kind of as well like I'm so different that kind by now it might have luckily after like a person might have gotten turned into like a face not not for certainly so like the among achievement like it might be luckily the ones with like high IQ that might be seen by like the plan master as like the qualified once that like the plan was the event that will be even considering that transforming into updating and transforming into that humanoid face that might be also the case to be my quick creator. So like that is up for like high IQ. It's like how it might have need to in like the path for like someone it might fall or even to the person might take this within that that the model of like the parallel world of that might be like the case is definitely about to figure out. So like a fundamental reimbursement, like the actual situation might be like among like the faces humanoid monsters, like I was saying that each of like the faces humanoid monsters might have been in like the past might have been humans with like high IQ and like even among like the faces humanoid monsters, like the one that might be the strongest might be like the might have been like the one with the highest even among like the high IQ like the one that might have had like even like exceptionally high might have been like the case that might be the reality. Okay, so that means my secondary and also right now is that like the shock of like the loss of belief they might have finally brought about that change in like Maxine and Philip like father and maybe might have his character might have changed. And maybe that way like I'm discovering like at person like with like Maxine being revealed to be at like often like definitely I'm discovering like Maxine might be at that same house but like Maxine has to be using it and basically they are like I'm different like at present like it might be different and like my friend my me like saying that he might have only change and the at present might be definitely finding time to like talk like option like this and definitely my friend like step up as well. Then work might actually which they might be finding time to like spend with like Maxine as while trying to like ensuring that like she's like recovering and basically is like slowly being able to like move on from that sort of like the loss of the everything. Might be like that to reflect the integration with like my things like definitely might be doing. Okay, so like company might be creating right now so that person might be extremely popular at like public book due to that Lucas being part of like the basketball team. So like at open like that maybe always like girls chasing after like the percent bad wanting and date with like it might be like the case in the female and definitely this might have yet like even though still in the might be condition exception that back then. and might be from Starlink Lloyd to like might be like active situation that mean so you get like I'm flipping like to that only that because that because that popularity but that's make it affects as well as like will change after like might be like the situation so like it might operate at a serious levels of like insecurity within problematic might be like the case that we might and this might be the reason for like especially like if they not all excited or like happy for like this is why because like if they putting like into this like basketball team and is getting all the attention and okay. Uh, this might be the reason that leads my particular end. Here's a like a new incident in my point for like the basketball team the most likely the naturally might be destroyed to it's like a end and not just that but like I'm looking at person like might be also having having crush they might be having a crush on Maxine as well solely due to that Maxine's connection to that city. So then back when Fully was alive back and like he might have been seen you might have been fighting feeling that his basketball player or might have been fighting like feeling intimidating and like he might have been extremely jealous of that feeling and believe like suck up at like Hawkins game and he might have been secretly extremely jealous of like feeling and might have been had like maybe like had like interior of become towards eventually might have been like the case if you remember the trend that way like I'm maybe for like this like basketball player most likely will be taking it about while talking about like the loss of Philip. When actually he might have been probably domestically paid once like the black once like video might be like the case maybe like that was like a possibility that I'm the book about it. And the it might have been solely due to that the absence of that feeling alone that I'm the like he might be a person like trying to be like the next uh, might be like the case that Neymar he might have had this like absolute obsession with like killing and such like something back when actually might was like might have been like the case of Neymar and so only due to that factor alone like only really like my scenes believe that stuff and only putting so often do not that they have a massive crush on like Michael might be like the case that they might be doing. And the player might eventually like making this like moves on like slightly eventually like the future is like the scenario that I was getting and that they are present able to bring that Lucas who Lucas will at present might be getting like the suspected and like might be getting mocked around by most likely this like basketball team there during the conversation as part of like the team and it might be like the situation of like Lucas in actually is also like a documentary that I'm looking at. So like the Liam eventually that little like totally building up that courage to like talk back towards that basketball here while eventually in like the user like Lucas will be finding out about like him totally making his like more strong matching even while being well out to be aware that like the matching is like Lucas girlfriend even though like Lucas and matching might be not in good terms but like so like about my terms and the thing it might be like actually in the percentage. So like they're bringing like the paper like Lucas like talking back and like putting like the like that for their yeah like in this like place in the direction like the paper. It's like a scenario that I'm saying. And I'm going to be that for to be like that insurance that will be finally getting rid of that maxing like security connection to that Lucas and for to only at that point like actually the realizing that like as to like how much that maxi means to like Lucas. It's like the full of scenario that I was going to bring them again. So like about the mention and the different maybe at present like look like a spoiler that might be secretly jealous of like Lucas due to like Maxine being Lucas girlfriend. Might be also like the case and like they are looking like this jealousy that he might be taking it out of specifically Lucas and might be like as the basketball player like he might be like this basketball player captain might be taking out of the second Lucas by always targeting Lucas and like mocking and making fun of that Lucas in front of like the team might be like actually a different situation. Certainly a positive that I'm looking among friends. Yes, like the feeling friends right that you know like might as well as the financial like I'm totally following. Like look at as well as like but that as well as like matching might have all pre-planned the meeting with like 11 Jonathan as well as Joyce at like California a long while back, definitely might be like that people will see like about the dynamic. And so definitely I'm referring like with like look situations of like this match like I'm totally preparing for like look of definitely without really like that. totally listening to like Mike and I was like Lucas totally asking Eddie to like postpone like the match. And definitely I'm bring at that point like the scenario to be like Lucas is like asking that while Eddie would be with just like basketball team member or the other team member. So like at that point I'm just while Lucas would be asking this to like Eddie and like Eddie at that point like something we can have good mockery out of like both Lucas and mocking Lucas and make fun of Lucas and in front of the team and basically straight away when he is telling Lucas and basically Lucas can leave if he wants, and like Lucas will be straight away getting replaced by a substitute. Uh, Another player would be along the lines of the something like they will be at that point telling Lucas, and the player would require Lucas might be actually extremely passionate about about like basketball, especially my impression. So definitely talking about like the scenario usually ending up with like Lucas alone, like not heading off to California to like meet 11. And like I'm feeling that for me upsetting and like enraging like to us of next and enraging like especially Mike as well as like Dustin as well as especially Maxine uh definitely my very emotion. So definitely I'm whispering like just as well so like my like Maxine might have been like aware that basically like the tournament match would be like running in like basically because most likely prioritizing like the tournament match and like basically not showing up to that meet 11 like the next day. Might be around the range like Maxine might have already felt the previous cosmetic. Maxine might be already like for the feeling at person that like like will be obsessed with like all the payment of like that like being part of the basketball team that giving Lucas when in actuality Lucas might be actually passionate about like the sport basketball might be like the situation of meaning for them but they still in this like Lucas will be like and like eventually becoming like the champions but like and the like by the time like the match will go like and the be extremely late at night and like Lucas comes out to be extremely exhausted exhausted for like travel all the way to California. It's like it's not that I'm to meet it and like it's not that I'm doing. So like definitely still look at sort of definitely to be affect the mindset even though it's been exhausted like look at still and I'm going like might be early morning to clean themselves. So like still look at sort of thing for like my parents might and all of them maybe like showing up to like look at to that top to like get look up to go along with them. So definitely I'm looking for like look at the other screen the it's software and like I'm still I'm totally different deciding to like go along with them. But like I'm just putting at that point like I'm just putting like to be like maxing like insecurity. Like I'm just putting maxing saying something testing the road to like look at about like along the lines of the black like officer looks like same and things like the basketball being part of and being part of like the basketball team is and along those lines and that way like during that point moment like a war is happening between like Lucas and my team. It would be resulting in like Lucas like rebelling by deciding to like not go along with the or like things of scenario that I was bringing and like Maxim rebelling by like telling Mike and others that leaves me that like they're going to go without like Lucas. It's like the scenario that I'm trying and definitely I'm whispering like time will be solved and basically so definitely eventually I'm whispering that war eventually ending up with like Mike and all of them like going without like Lucas. Like within our that I'm about them and like them going to like California and like meeting up with like a lot. And then we have to spend like at like 11 like school like I'm spend like where like I'm different like the meeting would be after happening like at that point I'm different definitely Mike and like so me not having a good experience there. Definitely went to like them like the students there like probably exactly like how they are like around to like 11 like I'm different like them team to like Mike and others like so like things and our parents about like right. And definitely I was praying at that point for like Mike to definitely not be able to like stand like all the other friends like being so extremely road to like 11 and everything was like in the scenario that I'm looking for like they're like a for maybe for like a forum eventually before like Mike and team will be running back to like open them right after the another for native happening between like Mike and 11 where like Mike will be badly wanting like 11 to head back to like talking back to like Mike talking store so that like 11 won't be going through all like would get on the lines like Mike would get on about like wanting 11 to like get CP and basically head back to that talking store uh, but like I'm doing like 11 definitely won't be agreeing to that and 11 would be totally still would be totally perfectly fine with lag even though lag 11 might be having that side of the thing they about it like the way they're here to like 11 still I'm like 11 might be probably might be still wanting to like study there itself at the California itself. I might be like this in that way like a quarrel that difference of opinion between Mike and Eleven and the like a quarrel getting them as well. And I'm also like Mike as well. So Mike and Eleven like by the time they will be saying that well like and Mike and Eleven from being in such good mood with like the scenario that I'm also over. So like that's why Mike I'm so different coming back as along with like Mike definitely was a Mike as well. So that like Mike who because they wanted like 11 who like some to like talking seeing how like the students towards like 11 like scenario that and Maxine might probably I'm totally friends with Maxine probably telling 11 along with like Mike that basically 11 should like stay with like Maxine as like Maxine said. But like I'm just saying like 11 not thinking to that and basically that way like I'm just point that Mike as well as Maxine like definitely returning from California, fact like Hawkins, energy demonstrate more like in our that and like definitely that frustration after the bring like after coming back like them taking it out on what because again is like who could be by then like will be feeling that absolute ditch of like no going along with like the might and all of them to me 11 was also like giving the scenario that I was about to today. And I was going like that whole at that point for like a whole swap between like Lucas and like maybe Maxine has pulled up Mike and maybe that's not happening and that way like maybe a temporary separation like happening between like Lucas and like the team of like Mike, Dustin and Maxine. Eventually it's like an individual possible scenario but like I'm different maybe like I don't like Maxine and so different that maybe Maxine words like eventually ending up with like Mike as well as like sustainability giving exactly like Maxine and basically saying that basically because of like probably obsessed with like the whole popularity and everything. Or do getting games like about popular and everything. And like in prioritizing that even more than like it's like more than the friendship with them and when I'm maybe along the lines of between like them or even getting that security and I'm looking at that temporary that war and like resulting in like a temporary splits happening between like the friendship again like the entrepreneur that I'm sure like I'm for him. So it's like person because like when I say steady, like I actually met that near of like the basketball team in which like representing who's not steady. Okay, so like the names to begin with premise on that like after like the friend of like the teaching Ravens like the complex machine had like explored like at that point after point that the like the Russian forces might have probably taken off few like own just like force friend might have taken off from themselves but like own just it's like own just friend like they might have probably still might have transported like who might have suddenly survive like I'm doing like the person of like the robot making like like what might have jumped from that scrap area and might have stuck down on the floor and might have even though it's like great injuries might have still managed to survive and definitely like it might have been um uh these like working force members who like to the side of like on just like team members or like I'm just saying like on team members who might use stress galaxy like the working force like the different might have not transporting that is stress transport pop up to concept even back then might be because certainly was correct. So like at present like I'm going to spark because I got like it might be definitely containing a cat. So the first sort of the most likely contain subset and like just in which like I'm so different like the videos of likely containing like the interrogation of like the audio recording of like of like the interrogation of like proper English like I'm different like it might have been maybe like after like such extensive interrogation of different somehow like maybe only recently that the report might have managed to like get out like information that like about like 11 still alive definitely and like at present like individuals like Joyce is definitely not friend but definitely I was friend that me recently somehow like the report might have figured this out uh, might be like the case definitely not friend so like yeah friend like in like the cassette like I'm saying like the also be like the was according with like one of like the person uh, electric restraint things and will be like that was according to the meant for like Joyce for like the exchange if like Joyce wants offer. So the friend was according containing a threat to Joyce of like basically them taking out offer and basically if Joyce wants to like save offer then Joyce have to like make that exchange and hand over 11 to like the Russian host. To the current such a voice recording containing yes, like and the most likely what might be then within like the person which has like the stamp connected to, I think, like something about like might be like the case of numerous things. Because like according to my friend, like the report right now and might be gonna fully aware of like the extent of like elements like power and like things like and that way like they might like the people might be probably aware that like if they try to use force like then like stealth definitely won't be possible. So like that way like I'm different like the report like the rates of strength might be feeling like they have their limit. So definitely in like how they will be able to like get element. So like this might be so strength and so frequent for like and definitely of doing the rection course might be really unaware of the possibility of like element not having access to powers. Might be also the case definitely with strength. So definitely so like definitely solely this is them not being aware of it like I'm just like they might have decided to like give such a cassette to like to also might be the case and for like that's an exchange so that like willfully they would be able to have relevant come to them might be what like through this like process that what the Russian folks might be currently planning with the definitely might be the case like about the better obviously like definitely not the range right now it's definitely for like there's also more relevant like population on top of like targeting relevant again and again from this point honestly like the scenarios that I'm about and definitely I'm different like for relevant like going through a lot of standard supplement images. So like how I'm delivering that along with like my friends like I'm looking like some small practically targeting 11 and I'm whispering that eventually I'm whispering that while 11 could be in such an extremely sad state while being thoroughly made fun of by that nerd and have a gang of friends. And I'm also trying like at that point for like will to like not be aware of all this happening to like 11 because like will at that point might be at that constantly might be at like a different location at like the school and might have something between like the gang of like maxing that's as well as my fit like it's an parameter or whatever. So definitely I'm bring that into I'm bring that the front gang like once they move my 11 like I'm just bring that them totally having this like shopping like talking scene where like those that girl and her friends definitely cornering and totally walking that 11 and that for 11 in years at that point is like the scenario that about the thing. So like at that point I'm considering like my straight away stepping in and totally like silencing like the uh, silencing like that girl and her friends and basically like knocking them back like the scenario that I'm looking at the product and like that they are looking like that word and getting there and like that they are looking like my friend not like they in that state for like 11 at that point like the scenario that I'm looking at and like a very okay, so like that means that is very understand right now that like Maxine has to leave myself, need to leave myself lost the father. And like then after that like Maxine and Billy might have lost the mother. And then like Maxine might have lost Billy as well. Might be like the ordinary is like oh like all the trauma might have happened and like Maxine and Billy as well as Maxine's life definitely might be the reason for like fact when like Maxine as well as like Billy was like living at like had moved to like mountains like at that point definitely Maxine's like actual mother not being with them it being like Maxine's like and Billy's like stepdad along with like the stepmother that's like with them might be due to like them losing their actual father and mother and such and all might be the case depending on parents. So like so like I'm saying that the Maxine might be living so like Maxine's like stepmom might have after like this loss like I'm saying that uh there might have been another part and like Maxine's like stepdad might have once again show like finally might have shown like aggression toward like uh Maxine's stepmom and like they might have got divorced like Maxine's stepmom might have divorced like Maxine's like stepfather and like that way like at present like Maxine might be living not with her actual mother but with her stepmother might be like a million thing. Okay, so that the flame experience right now that I mentioned might be so strong with that of the pain and suffering of that all the trauma and pain that Maxine has so far gone through her life that like Maxine might be so done with that she might the last thing she might be wanting would be to like she might be feeling as like she might be wanting to be to like to go through to open up to like the tolerance where like she might actually be forced to like go through all that pain and suffering again. This might be the reason for like Maxine might be named the reason for like Maxine definitely adamant about that, being adamant about like not opening up to like the long term. Might be this is different, might be like it's like a box to data and brain experience. So like definitely I'm still in a memory friend like the conversation meeting that was like opening like the gate in like the episode one of like season three, explain things might have only usually work like the end of the season three, myself by then myself considered like opening up the gate, and that might be how that faces humanoid monster like it was the end of the season three being present at like that uh end of the laboratory in Russia being the thing that is the humanoid monster. Might be it might have came through that gate open through that monster, which might have been the thing but like as soon as that the base monster might have entered into that the laboratory might have like done so much damage that quickly like that combat machine might have been turned off, and like that it might be only just that single faceless inward monster alone that might have gotten through to like the real world and might have been since like might have been kept within might have been like the case of minimum creators. Both at least then so the friends that might have in the season four like once again that the replicants might have wanted like more of like the face of the nerd wanted to like they might have might have at present might have once again opened up used the conversation turned on the conversation and might have once again might be like the process of like opening up the gate, and then like they might want to like open up the gate even create like multiple gates or like open up the gates even fast, like they might be having other deadlines as well. From the deadlines as well might be like reasons, maybe the reason for next time, maybe originally might have even figured out about like element being alive, might be like reason and like the password to close and check the law and like the password might be roughly telling might be roughly to tell those to eventually like I'm something for like eventually for there to be other repeated like multiple passwords like of going up to those things. And eventually like the intent of like what people getting revealed through most likely like I said are like of like focus like first approach something, and basically during like focus in progress and basically like the most like the person was one of like the person was here like telling those to make that exchange if that person, let's say that those have to like hand off in a like might be like the scenario that I'm looking. So like that the first at present like I'm just running like the situation with like Turkey that basically to be like having like the whole hallucination kind of like things might be definitely most likely it is like to be most likely being infected by like the monster element or like the mini mind flare. So like that it might have been due to like the Benjamin prevention, like recently most likely like in the conversation between like the person with like in like correctional disabled in Russia like we maybe and reopen and maybe right now going through most likely the process of like trying to like reopen that case once again using the conversation. It might be the reason for like maybe that the most element contained within like the using like belief of that taken out by like the mini mind usually like so through like the many mind players like by kind of like so like name different like the most of elements like that might have ended really like might have definitely might have same like at present usually lack of the reopening of like the process of like reopening of the gate at like another about the energy level team Russia might be investigation, so like maybe due to that extreme remote distance like anything like that, and that like the minimum might not be able to uh get get like due to like the remote distance like the tiny element of like the minimum might be getting for the rest of the might be like a raised different, so like the tiny element of the minimum like not for to like also and control humans like and like might have infiltrated, so it most likely so different by now the to be like multi mini mind tiny elements also of like tokens, and like it might be controlled like and like the person in like situation like which is hallucinate might be almost like leading to like the tiny elements of the mind slab not like the like food like might have by hiding in food like might have totally entered um, and like might have taken that way might be in like the process of spreading through see might be like the activity of like the participation, and hence like a like a situation of like it if you see like the having like the hallucination or might be due to see maybe it might be going through such situation of like spreading of like the mini mind flare like maybe having already slowly started to like already might be like the case that you know through. So like electricity might be like the first person they might have in this like the infection might have again suddenly much suddenly on the different like the infection like once again like some sort of different characters to be like multiple tiny elements of like element which I'm so different like or like the coming days and would be like infecting more and more and taking spreading causing like spreading more and more students at like open school like that I'm the different and also the